Is a Turkish military assault on Kurdish forces on the horizon? A Turkish TV station has broadcast images of what it says is a convoy of Turkish military vehicles heading to the border with Syria. Ankara views the Kurdish military in northern Syria as terrorists and has threatened military action. Kurdish forces have been left vulnerable after that shock announcement that their ally, the United States, will withdraw all its troops from Syria, and they've requested help. The Syrian government has now sent troops to the flashpoint town of Manbij, setting the scene for a potential shutdown. Joining me now in studio is Daniel Gerlach. He's the editor-in-chief of Zenith magazine, which focuses on Middle Eastern affairs. So, if Syrian forces are indeed in Manbij, could this be a game changer in this civil war?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a game changer. I think this has been much more of a symbolic move, and we are seeing actually a repetition of the scenario of the second Turkish military offensive about a year ago to the canton of Afrin, where the Kurdish forces had called for help from the Syrian regime, and the Syrian regime symbolically moved in, sent him some militias, put the Syrian national flag, and said, now we are in control of Manbij, and somehow they could also be a face-saving solution for the Turks, because Turkey now can buy time and doesn't have to move in as it promised.
What about the Kurds? So the Kurds have now asked Syrian troops to move into that city. What do they want? Why ask for those troops?
Well, the Kurdish forces have paid dearly when they conquered Manbij a couple of years ago from the so-called Islamic State militias. And they lost about 300 people. So this was a highly symbolic victory for them. And since then, Manbij has been contested area. Manbij is a strategic location because from there, if you conquer Manbij, you can enter both Kurdish cantons, or both areas that are still held by the Kurdish forces in the east. You're very close to the shores of the Euphrates River, and therefore it's a strategic place. And it's very important to keep this, and it's also very important for the Turkish forces, of course, to take it if they want to defeat the YPG, the Kurdish militias. But if the Syrian regime says we are now officially in control of it, then this is at least a political victory for Erdogan, because a military offensive in this area would be very costly for them, because I don't think the Kurds are going to give this away easily.
President Erdogan, you mentioned him. He's been sending his own forces to the border. What do you think? I mean, you mentioned this before, but how likely is a Turkish attack?
It's been announced several times, not specifically on Manbij. We have French troops in the area. We also have Russian troops in the area. We have the Syrian regime. So Manbij itself has not been announced by the Turkish president specifically, but an intervention in the northeastern part of Syria, where you have a lot of oil and gas resources and a lot of Kurdish troops, in control of this area. This has been, of course, a strategic goal for Turkey. And what I think they're going to do is they're going to try to provoke an uprising of Arab tribes against the Kurdish forces there that are very discontent with the situation there, with the control of the Kurds. And they are trying to, I think, more an indirect approach. But, of course, they could continue cross-border operations, aerial operations in this area. But I'm not sure if we will see a heavy, full-fledged military offense in this area now.
Briefly, about 20 seconds, where does this leave the U.S. now?
I was not surprised by the withdrawal of the U.S. troops, to be honest. I think, let's hope that the U.S. have talked to the Turks about it and to the Russians about it. But I think America has taken itself deliberately out of the game at the moment. It could continue aerial attacks or whatever to be in the game militarily, but you can say politically they have withdrawn completely and deliberately so.
Okay. Daniel Gerlach, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.